Hello, YouTube. Well, today I'm upgrading my main computer, my now main computer, big time. Core i7 3770K. We're going from, where's the old box here? We're going from this Core i3 2105 to this Core i7 3770K. This is a Sandy Bridge processor with Intel HD Graphics 3000. I'm still going to use this in another build that you'll see probably around Christmas time. And this is an Ivy Bridge processor with HD Graphics 4000 and a 770 watt, and it's a 77 watt processor. So that's good news, at least for the cooler I'm using, because the cooler I'm using supports up to 95. So the cooler will be more than enough for this thing. Both of these are powerhouses, but this is going to be a huge benefit when it comes to video editing. I'm going to use this. That's why I got this in the first place. This is going to make this computer last a long time, and it's going to make video editing less of a bear than it will in the i3, because the i3 is a dual core with hyperthreading. And since hyperthreading is two more virtual cores rather than two more physical cores, it pushes the processor pretty hard. So the i7 will definitely help with that, because this is a quad-core processor with hyperthreading. So there's 4 more virtual cores on top of the 4 physical ones that are here. So it can use the out-of-order execution in order to do that. At least I think that's what the modern version of hyperthreading still does, is use out-of-order execution. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. But let's look at the processor itself, and you can see the specs on it. Let me get the light on here. It's a Core i7 3770K. It's a 3.5 gigahertz processor. So it's basically the top of the line model. So it will last quite a long time. These processors are about $320. So they're no slouch. This is the type of processor you buy when you want your computer to last a long time and you don't want to upgrade it for quite a long time. And that's exactly what I plan to do with this machine. I plan to keep it pretty much the way it is, apart from maybe the graphics cards and the hard drives, for at least 5 years. So this should be wonderful for that purpose. This is going to go into another build. This is still a damn good processor, so it's going to go into another build. I have another motherboard coming, and I'll be doing that build around Christmas time, so you guys can look forward to that. But for now, we're going to be upgrading my main computer to a Core i7, and I can show you what cooler I use and everything, and we can unbox it here. Of course, the one thing I'm doing before putting this processor in, since it's Ivy Bridge, is updating my BIOS from F2 to F9, so that it supports the Ivy Bridge, which I believe was first supported on the F8 BIOS. So we'll update this BIOS, put the processor in, and all should be hunky-dory. Anyway, getting back to putting this all together. This is my motherboard in my main computer. It's a big old gigabyte motherboard. It is a where's the model number? There it is. It's a Gigabyte GA-Z68P DS3. It's a Sandy Bridge Z68 based motherboard. I bought my own cooler and put it on for the processor. As you can see, the heatsink is much more substantial. And it uses screws instead of the stupid push pins. This is the cooler I'll be using with the i7 as well. And there you have it. It's got 4 RAM slots. It's got an X16 and an X8 slot. 2 PCI slots. Here's the back. You get PS2, USB, serial and parallel, digital audio, HDMI, USB, Ethernet, and audio. This was a $100 motherboard at the time, I think, if I remember correctly. So it's been almost a year that I've had this board, so obviously I haven't looked at it in a while. So let's put this baby in, shall we? Gonna break the seal, man. Jeez, that seal is harder to break than I thought. Alright. There's a difference. The i7 stock cooler comes with a copper plate in the middle, unlike the other ones. Although I still don't think it's very substantial. Let's take a look. The cooler has a copper bit on the bottom, but it's still this very thin, rather useless heatsink. And it uses this damn push pins that I can't stand, as are evident here. Plastic breaks. So the cooler on these is pretty useless, but I bet it'll work fine anyway. I'm not going to use it. I'm going to use that one because this one was not very expensive and has been very effective so far. So there you have it. The model of this cooler I don't know, so there you have it. Here's a better look at the cooler. It's quite a big cooler made by Glacial Tech, as I found out. That's what it says on the back plate. Glacial Tech. This is what Intel should be using. They should be using screw-down coolers. These use it looks almost like these are plastic, but underneath that there's actually some metal. So it's metal supports with a plastic sheathing around it, which is very good. I gotta clean that off. It has like a copper circle in the middle too, so it'll handle this Core i7 no problem. I probably could overclock it, but I'm not going to because there's no point for what I do with my computer. There's just no point in overclocking. I've never done it, and I probably won't unless I'm really, really, really hampered on performance. So let's get this started. Let's get this processor out of here and clean it up and put the i7 in. There we are. Both the cooler and the i3 have been cleaned off. There's the i3. It's a 3.1 gigahertz processor. So now what I'm going to do is give this Core i7 just a small wipe down with some Fantastic, which is usually what I use to clean off heatsink grease. And stick it in the machine, stick some thermal grease on it, put it in there, and then stick that board back in. And then we're in business. Alright, the Core i7 has been installed and the Core i3 has been reboxed. At least until Christmas time, and we're good. I'm going to put the board back in and we'll see how much this changed the Windows Experience Index as far as processor performance. And my test for the performance of this thing will probably be exporting this particular video in Windows Live Movie Maker, so we'll find out once I put this back in, so let's get to it. And here we are with everything put together. Got my 16 gigs of RAM back in there, got the processor going. Got my 550 Ti in here, which this might be upgraded pretty soon as well, depending on situations. I'm not sure yet. There are the hard drives, they were there before. Got my FireWire card in there. And there we have it. Time to button this thing up and start it up and see what its performance is like. Can't wait to find out. I should mention, there is one thing I'm not particularly a fan of on this board. It doesn't have VRM heatsinks for those transistors down there. But it does have the holes, so what I might do in the future is actually get a heatsink for those, just in case. Not too sure on that, but it doesn't leave me with a good feeling, considering I have an i7 here. But that being said, it's a 77 watt processor, so it might not push these hard enough for that to matter. Oh well. Alright, whole thing's buttoned back up again. Turn the stereo on, so see if this thing starts up. Sounds like it is going to start up. Do we have a post? Yep, we do. Excellent. BIOS. Alright. $37 meg. Why is it that high? That's weird. Nope, it runs that way whether I have the memory settings that way or not. Interesting. Alright. So the BIOS is choosing to run this processor at 3.7 gigahertz for whatever reason. Hey, I'm cool with that. That's fine by me. Let's check the temperatures just to make sure that thermal paste is good. Looks like it's doing fine. It's getting hotter fairly quickly though. Whatever. Let's boot up Windows. See how nicely this runs. Alright, Windows did something really bizarre. I started it up and it had to reinstall the drivers for every single device. Like stuff on the motherboard, PCI to PCIe bridges and things like that. It was just, literally everything. And that was really bizarre. And that's after difficulty booting this thing up. I thought it was booting from the wrong hard drive the entire time, so I kept messing around with SATA cables, and eventually I actually got the computer to not boot, so I had to take the CMOS battery out for about 2 minutes, put it back in, and it booted again. So that was kind of a pain. Now I'm just updating Windows here. It had a bunch of updates to begin with, and it also has the HD Graphics 4000 driver in there, so I updated the chipset driver, just because I updated the BIOS from F2 to F9, for God's sake. And also here I'm updating the HD Graphics 4000 driver, even though I'm probably not going to be using that. But the reason that's there is a backup, just in case, let's say, my graphics card goes toe up. So, there you have it, guys. But in the meantime, I can show you that there's definitely a Core i7 in here. The Intel Core i7 3770K. There you go. It's clocked at 3.5 gigahertz, but it's running at 3.8 for whatever reason. But hey, I'm not going to complain. It runs, so what's wrong with that? We'll have to do the Windows Experience Index once it's done updating here. I'm having one of those days where I just can't do anything right. I just had this thing crash. Just the screen went black, and the computer did nothing during an update. And I think when it was installing the drivers, actually. I don't know what happened there. But I have a feeling it has to do with the fact that it thought I was overclocking. But I wasn't. I don't know what's going on. So I turned extreme memory profiles on, ended up the voltage a little on the memory, so maybe that'll fix it. I was running it at 1600 because that's its rated speed. Extreme memory profiling did its own settings and it seemed to work fine. So I checked back, and I don't think this thinks I'm overclocking. I think that's just the turbo speed showing up there. Yeah, that's just the turbo speed showing up. I'm an idiot, guys. I'm sorry. First time I've even touched a Core i7 based system, so there you have it. So hopefully Windows Update still has the rest of the updates in there. Yeah, it does. Okay. Let's try updating all these again. Hopefully it works this time. Okay, finally, after like way too long, can we do the Windows Experience Index thing? Please. As soon as the hard drive stops loading everything. But here's what we have. A Core i7 3770K, 3.5 gigahertz, 3.8 gigahertz turbo. This is what the old ratings were. The CPU rating was at a 7.1. So, let's run the test again and see what it gets. Alright, let's see what switching to Ivy Bridge did for my computer. Wow, it brought the memory up to 7.7 from a 7.5, and it brought the processor up from a 7.1 to a 7.7, so that's a major upgrade. I won't have to upgrade this computer for quite a while. and it will probably be running Windows 7 for quite a while as well, unless I have a specific need for Windows 8, which I don't think I will. So, there you have it, folks. That's an upgrade to a Core i7. I think my test will be encoding a couple videos, and I'm sure it will be quite fast. I'm definitely happy to have this. And there you have it, folks. Alright, I'm exporting a YouTube video using Windows Live Movie Maker just to see how the CPU performs, and look at how optimized Windows Live Movie Maker is for exporting. It doesn't slouch at all. It uses all of that CPU. Uses all 4 physical cores and all 4 virtual cores to get this done. So that's pretty good, and it seems to go by much faster than the i3 did, which I'm very, very thankful for. It's not using a whole lot of memory either. Although you can see the memory's just climbing up. Look at that. There, it settled back a little bit. It might go back up, who knows. But it looks like it's using the CPU quite well. I can definitely see a time difference as far as exporting goes. It's going much faster than it did with both the AMD 6-core processor and the i3. The i3 actually exported quicker than the AMD 6-core processor did. I thought that was a little funny. But yeah, this i7 is definitely passing with flying colors when it comes to exporting video. It's definitely worth that the extra money if you really want video to export like this. It's pretty awesome, guys. Anyhow, that's the upgrade to the Core i7 processor. I probably won't have to upgrade the CPU for quite a while with how powerful this is. So there you have it, guys. Have a good one, everybody. Ciao.